Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's my favorite time of year. We've got Chris Bitters from the Delmarva Shorebirds in the house to talk about our all-favorite Delmarva Shorebirds and what's going to go on with this 2023 season. Welcome, Chris.
Greg, thanks for having me. I appreciate it as always.
So a lot of activity out there at Arthur W. Purdue Stadium.
Yep, we're getting ready for opening day on April 11th. It's teeing up to be another fun season of great promotions and opportunities to get families and friends out to the ballpark this summer and watch some of the future of the Orioles play right here in Salisbury, because it's been an exciting handful of years with a lot of those prospects now making it to Baltimore that were playing right here in Salisbury just over the last couple of years.
Now you've got your big event.
April 4th, we have an open house. Just come on out, it's free. The team's just going to work out, do their normal batting practice stuff, but we did it last year and it really resonated with some folks. Probably a little bit had to do with coming off of a COVID year, but yeah, that resonated, and we're going to do it again. And if you bring 4 canned food items to that April 4th open house, we'll give you a free hot dog and Pepsi. So come on out and we'll take care of the food bank a little bit and get you fed for the night too.
So we're going to do a tour of the stadium?
Yeah, we'll give stadium tours for people. I mean, there's certain areas we can't go in with players being occupied, but we'll give you tours of the stadium for anybody that hasn't been up to the club or press box or suites, places like that. And then, the players will be taking batting practice, and then, in between, like you would at a ball game, come over to the sidelines and sign some autographs.
So a lot of excitement out there. There's some new stuff at the stadium this year. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, really, the big stuff we're having is new promotions, new food options, and really trying to get past that post-COVID zone of what we're doing and get back to some of the normal program that we've done this year, or that we've done in the past, I should say, that are able to be back this year that we missed due to kind of some odd things over the last couple of years.
So you're in charge of the experience that the fans have at the stadium. You're not the manager on the field of the players.
Correct, yeah. The easiest way to describe my job is everything that happens on the field, or between the white lines, I like to call it, is all dictated and handled by our coaching staff and our manager and the Baltimore Orioles. All the folks on the field are employed by the Orioles and are following the Orioles player development process to help get these guys to Baltimore. My job is twofold. One, I'm somewhat of an administrative role with the Orioles in terms of a liaison between the facility, team travel, uniforms, and all the things that we do as a minor league team. But my main role from a local standpoint, what most people know me about, is the marketing, the promotions, and getting people to fill Purdue Stadium on a nightly basis and all the fun things we do in the community. So I have the dual roles, but yeah, on the field, if we win or lose, sometimes I undeservingly get credit,
right?
And there's times where when we're bad, I undeservingly get some grief. But it's the reality of the minor league system, and the goal is to win ball games, but we really want to develop players to get them to the major leagues, which has been going very well.
We've been really lucky to have some great stable ownership with the Shorebirds, your employers, and you here in town for a long time.
Yeah, I think this is year 16 or 17
yeah.
Since the fall of 2006, getting ready for the 2007 season. I've been here, so yeah, my kids have been raised here, and while I'm always a come here, I guess, from California, I'm as local as they come from. Kids born and raised, gone to school, and graduating from school here.
What major league team do you root for?
So growing up as a kid, I was a Dodger fan. Being based outside of LA, I did have an affinity for the Yankees. I was a big Don Mattingly fan. I was a left-handed kid, so anybody left-handed when I was growing up, I liked Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs, Eric Davis. But then obviously being in the Dodger market, I was a big Dodger fan back then, of guys like Steve Garvey and Tom Niedenfuer and Mike Scioscia as a catcher, some of those guys. So.
What position did you play?
So randomly enough, being left-handed in Little League, my dad was my coach. So my dad always stuck me at a position that we didn't have somebody else that could play. So majority of my Little League career up until high school, I was actually a catcher. I was a left-handed catcher, but nobody in baseball likes a left-handed catcher. But again, my dad, we always had a shortcoming for catching, and I enjoyed it. So I actually was a catcher. Once I got to high school, I was a typical left-hander, pitcher, first baseman, outfielder.
And it's because when you throw with the left hand, there's usually a batter in the box that kind of gets in the way of the throw to second?
Yeah, it's an awkward throw to third, really, is the challenge, is what people would claim.
Right.
I don't see why, being biased and a lefty, I don't see why you couldn't pull it off. But, that's the way it goes.
I've never thought about that. There's not a lot of left-handed catchers.
Yeah, you can't find gloves too easily either. I can tell you that much.
That would be a good point. So have you sort of adopted the Orioles to a degree? Or is it more personal with knowing these players?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely love the O's. I'm pulling for the O's every night. Obviously, as a kid, everybody has their childhood teams that they grew up with, and just because you work for one affiliate, this is the fourth or fifth affiliation I've worked for, so I've been affiliated with a number of teams over my years in baseball. But yeah, I love the O's. I love to see the guys doing well. I was just at spring training a couple of weeks ago, and it's just great to look at the bullpen and the dugout and on the field, and just littered with former guys that were right here in Salisbury. And I was there with ownership, and we're looking at some of the other teams that we were playing against. It's like, gosh, those guys played here in Salisbury too, just on the opposite team.
Right. Now, just recently, you were kind of doing the list at County Council about the players that have come through Salisbury. It always fascinates me how many great players we've had here.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the current roster, it's almost 50% of the 40-man at that point in time when I counted it and printed off the internet that day.
Yeah.
About 50% of the 40-man roster had played here in Salisbury, and then a number of the guys who will be starting in the big leagues, whether it's Adley or Gunnar Henderson now, Felix Batista in the outfield with Mullins, John Means who's on the DL, but you have guys like Grayson and DL Hall that are knocking on the door. I think they just were sent down to AAA to start the season, but yeah, no, it's exciting to see the progress that's been made over the last 4 or 5 years of guys that are right here in Salisbury that are now in Baltimore, and there's been a really big shift of guys that are recently here. So like, for example, in the 2022 season, Felix Batista spent, if I'm not mistaken, the entire 21 season in Delmarva.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, he's going from single A to, basically a big league setup man, closer type role that he had last year. And that's exciting to see guys that are right here make that huge leap.
Yeah, it seems like that happens a lot, that they're not like stuck in Norfolk for a bunch of years. They're here, and then they like maybe go through Norfolk real fast and then end up in Baltimore, or they go right to Baltimore.
Yeah, I think with the rebuild, and while I'm not on the baseball operations side, I think with the rebuild, I mean, it's just trying to get the best talented guys to the big leagues as quickly as possible. And regardless of how many stops you've had along the way, if your talent is proven through the stops that you're ready for the next level, they've been aggressive with pushing that. And I think some of that had to do with the 2020 year where we lost the year, right? We didn't have anybody play. You guys are working out in their backyards or whatever local facilities COVID would allow. And we came out of that, you really didn't know where people belonged because it was just, didn't play baseball for a year. So,
right.
It was kind of jumbled up in the minor leagues, especially on the lower levels where guys belonged. And I think that flushed out in 2021, 2022, that guys might have been slot a little lower than they should have been, were able to move through quickly. Guys that may have been pushed a little further ahead realize, oh, hey, we need to back them off a little bit, that they're not quite ready there, too.
And I guess our most famous shorebird, when you come into the stadium, there's a nice cardboard cutout of him.
Yeah.
It reminds us of Manny Machado being here.
Yeah, Manny Machado. We got a lot of them, obviously, over the years. Obviously, the most recent kind of big name that's out there is Manny Machado. It was a 2011 shorebird. Spring training, I ran into Michael Givens, who was a 2011 shorebird as well.
Love Michael.
I was reminiscing with him about his time in Salisbury. And, yeah, so Manny Machado is a big one. Obviously, Adley with the big league club now, first overall pick. And we have a lot of that, being where we're at now with the new PDL system. We're going to see those draft picks in Salisbury. Most every year at the late part of the season, after the draft in July, they're going to get those young men to Salisbury in August.
Yeah, the kid who came through at the end of last year, whose father's a player.
Oh, Jackson Holiday.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
He was a first-round pick, first overall pick, so he's what they call the 1-1.
Right.
And, we had him the end of the season last year. We don't know our roster yet for this year yet, but hoping he'll be here for a minute maybe if he comes to Salisbury and then does well, move up.
So they'll break spring training shortly. The roster will be announced, and everyone will go to their teams.
Yeah, so around April 1st is when the teams will start to report north. They'll be in towns by April 2nd, and then there'll be a couple of workouts April 3rd, 4th, and then we hit the road April 5th.
That's really cool.
So yeah, so they'll get here this weekend.
The event that you had in the wintertime where you had some Oriole fans, players come in to Evo, to the brew pub there.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous. I thought I would go, but I pulled up and it was like there was like 1,000 people there.
Yeah, it was packed. I got there a little bit early because obviously we're working the event. But yeah, it was packed. Great turnout from the community, from the college students. It was a lot of Oriole fans. You could tell the excitement about Birdland, and it was great. I mean, that was a Birdland caravan. It's something that they started a few years ago. The first time they did it, they did not come to Salisbury, so they were really committed to making sure they came to Salisbury this year. And with that, on our side, I was really committed to showing the folks up in Baltimore that you come to Salisbury, we're going to turn out for you and have a good time. And if you're at Evo that night, you would know that it was a packed house, not a parking spot to be found anywhere. And it was a great time, and I think the O's enjoyed it and really showed them how big the Eastern Shore supports the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah,
that was the sense I got from talking to people, was that they were so appreciative of the fan support. And the managers there, the general managers there, all the big poobahs are there, and the community really came and rallied for the support of the Orioles.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a fantastic night. Like I said, I got there about 2:30, and I was like, whoa, the parking lot's full. And my staff got there like 2 o'clock. The event didn't start till 4. My staff got there at 2 o'clock. They called back to the stadium and said, Chris, it's like 3/4 full in here. I said, well, is it black and orange, kind of like what you're wearing, or is it just regular folks having, you know, a meal at Evo? And they go, no, it's black and orange. I go, okay, well, all right, I'll get over there shortly. And like by the time I got there at 2:30 or a little before 3, it was getting full already in terms of the parking lot and inside.
And you've had Buck Showalter. He came a couple years ago, and I got to talk to him. But you get some prominent people coming through to the Shorebirds games, and you have a chance to actually interact with them.
Yeah, we've tried every year. I don't know that we really have anybody on the schedule this year, but we've tried to have what we call player appearances or celebrity appearances at the ballpark. Obviously, our off-season events like our hot stove banquet with Buck Showalter. And we try to, where there's a fit, you know, last year we had Gary Williams to the ballpark.
Right, Gary was here, right, yeah.
Maryland head coach, and that was a lot of fun. Again, Jimmy Sweet, my AGM, is a big Maryland fan, so it's kind of really special for him, and obviously it was a great tie-in to what we were doing for the night with our scholar athletes. But yeah, we try to where it makes sense and get some athletes to the ballpark during the summer, but also in the off season have events to keep us relevant in the community and do good. Love
the Friday night, the big beer night thing.
Yep.
On the way home. That's just so much fun to stop and see a game. But I keep thinking that I want to show my commitment by getting a game, you know, a game package.
Yep.
So tell me what the options might be for people who want to show their commitment.
Yeah, so if you want to be what we call a season ticket member, we have a bunch of packages, and we always want to make sure whatever people have is like a right fit. So we've tried to design some packages that do that. So we have it starts as low as a 12-game plan, where you can have the same seats for all 12 games, discounted parking, and then they're basically the 12 games that we've pre-picked are our biggest promotional nights of the year. Opening day, July 4th, the biggies. And then you have the flexibility that says, you know what, I'm Greg, this doesn't work with my schedule because I'm here every Tuesday and I can't be at the ball games. You can work with our ticket staff. We'll swap those games around for you to fit your schedule, whether that's well in advance or the week of. If you know, hey, I'm heading out of town, swap it out for a future game. So we have a 12-game plan, a 22-game plan, a half-season plan, which is 33 games, and then the full season plan, which is 66. Each one of them has a variety of benefits that come with it. Again, the biggest benefit, I think, for folks is that just because you have those games that are preset, you're not stuck with those. If your schedule or your life changes, you know, you can work with our staff to swap them around. Or now with technology, you can actually go online at night and do it yourself. You don't even need to call us if you realize, hey, at midnight, I can't make Saturday's game on this Friday. Go in, you can swap it around, pick a new game. There's a small online processing fee, but take care of yourself.
Yep, and the online system, if you want to just go to a game, it's so easy to use. It's terrific how good it is.
Yeah, it's wild how much technology's changed, and you know, with online ticketing now, I mean, it's the majority of the way we do everything, as well as being a cashless ballpark, which has been a positive for everybody, I believe. But yeah, online ticketing is great. You can hop on. I explained to this to people that don't go to a lot of sporting events. If you've flown on a plane, if you've booked, you know, a plane ticket out of Salisbury through American, and you hopped online, you bought your ticket, you download your pass to your iPhone or printed out your boarding pass at home, it's the same concept. And you can do everything in one transaction now. We've cleaned it up a little bit this year where tickets, parking, all that good stuff, you can do it all in one transaction, have it all on your phone, or again, print it off like a boarding pass and come out to the ballpark.
And not a bad seat in the house.
No, and that's the thing, is people say, where's the best place to sit? It's all perspective.
Right.
You know, it's like a NASCAR race, right? Some people are like, want to be right down near the track, but it's not really the best spot for the view. You know, and up high is better, right? So, so it's all perspective. It's, you know, 5,000 plus seats. There's not a bad place to sit. There's no nosebleeds at Purdue Stadium. Yep. The nosebleeds are our highest price seats, right up on the third floor.
Right.
So, you know, what would be considered the nosebleeds. So.
Now, there's going to be some changes to the actual stadium in terms of maybe some of that design upstairs?
So overall, what's happening to the stadium is, you know, Purdue Stadium was built in 1996. And the reason back in the early 90s you saw teams like Frederick and Bowie and Delmarva come online is that in 1990, Major League Baseball put in a set of standards of what a minor league facility must look like and feel like. Those standards really haven't changed for 30 years, since 1990. So I'll give you an example. In the old book that doesn't exist anymore, in the locker room, it just said we had to have a phone line. Well, obviously, internet's important today, you know, all those things. But the book said have a phone line. Well, most teams went ahead and provided internet. But if you just want to play it by the book, you say, well, I don't have to provide internet in the locker room. You can have a phone line. I don't know what you're going to do with the dial-up AOL account, but hey. So Major League Baseball in 2020, it just happened to coincide with a terrible year for the world with COVID. 2020 issued, and as part of what we call now the PDL system, they issued new facility standards. And a lot of those facility standards are really geared toward player health and wellness. And it's a lot of things like locker room space. Our locker room was built for 25-man rosters. Now we have 30-man rosters.
Right.
Our locker room coaches space was built for 4 coaches. Back in the day, you had a pitching coach, a hitting coach, maybe a third coach, and a trainer. Now we have a strength coach, we have a nutritionist, we have development coaches, we have tech coaches. We have, I don't know, some teams have upwards of 12 or 14 coaches. So over the years, over those 30 years, we went from 4 coaches to 14.
Right.
But we have space for 4. So, so a lot of those things are being discussed and how we're going to accomplish that. Thankfully, the state in the last piece of legislation passed a bill that was kind of a sister bill to what they're doing with Camden Yards and Raven Stadium, M&T Bank, and that we'll be able to have some resources from the Maryland Stadium Authority to help all the Maryland teams that are affiliated get to compliance.
And just 2 years ago, you did some stuff in the outfield. The walk-around thing is terrific. How's that going?
It's going great. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, COVID's thrown me off of when we've actually, how many years it's been since we've done things. But yeah, obviously from 2015 through 2020, we did a 5-year, it was really a number of improvements over a 5-year window as funding became available. And those improvements were the new video board, the one you mentioned. I love the walk-around deck. Yeah, it's a great little thing. Again, my daughter, who's been to the ballpark her whole life, she loves it with her friend at the ballpark. With my wife sitting down, she can go just take a lap. Just go walk around, stretch your legs. We have a lot of regulars that just go out there pregame and watch the guys getting warmed up and take laps. And one of our ticket holders, he has seats right behind home plate, but actually he gets his beer and just goes hangs out in right field on the ledge and chats with the right fielder all game, and he doesn't even sit in the seats. Yeah. So so it's pretty cool.
Now you've got lots of different spots around the ballpark if you want to bring groups in. Businesses want to bring groups in or whatever, just families, nonprofits. Talk about what some of those are.
Yeah, so we have 3 core spaces that we do those functions or catered functions in. So on the 3rd floor, we have the executive club,
which is really nice.
It's a
so
nice
up there,
indoor, climate-controlled area. Obviously, if it's dicey weather, whatever, it's a great space. Indoor, outdoor seating. So
but it's great for meetings or things when there's nothing going on at the stadium even.
Yep, we have a lot of folks that'll use it. Come out for meetings to have their staff meet, maybe get a little breakfast at the ballpark or lunch, whatever their goal is. So we have the executive club on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor, we have the Hardball Cafe, which is more of an outdoor seating area right behind home plate. But it's unusual for ballparks to have that type of setup where you have a group space directly behind home plate on second level.
It's the best seat in the house, and it's set up as a terrace for people who want to interact with their their company or whatever. It's just excellent.
Yep. You have a half moon table in front of you, swivel chairs, or some high top tables in the back. Yeah, it's a great space. You're right behind home plate, so you can be social, be engaged in the game. The kids love it. It's a really good spot for organizations to come out. And then we have the picnic deck down the right field line. That's really a space for very large, you can book it as small as 30, but it can hold up to several hundred. So that's our space. If you're a large company or a large organization that's bringing out several hundred people and want to treat them to a picnic and a ball game, that's the place you would be looking at out there.
And it's a perfect spot because it's a foul ball area.
Yeah, the kids love it. Foul balls out there, run around. It's a great spot, and again, that's where we do a lot of our large picnics. And it's a good value, I think, when you compare it to other things in the market and what you do, whether it's going to Ocean City for a convention or whatever it may be. And we get, group sales in 2022 was tremendous. You could tell companies, organizations really wanted to get back to having employee outings, after being shut down for a couple of years doing that. We really saw that resonate with our community groups that came out and had a good time at the ballpark.
The fan experience is so unique. When you go in when you go in the door and you first encounter the usher, our friend Roger Fallabout is there a lot. You see him, and then you get to your seat, and the people who have the season tickets, they're all there. They all know each other. They're all talking, so they've got their own little community. You kind of fit in with that. Sherman is great. The in-between, Sherman the Shorebird is great. The in-between the innings things that you guys do are great. The thing on the field is great. The parking is just everything about the fan experience is great. How do you make it so that it is so great for all of us?
I'm at every game. I mean, I think over my 20 years of baseball or whatever it's been, I think I've missed less than a handful. One of them was like my daughter's graduation from Delmarva.
Right.
And I was over here at the Civic Center, so I was in the neighborhood, just not at the stadium. Really, I think it's just trying to listen to the fans. Also, I think it's really a matter of minor league baseball as an industry. We don't compete against each other. So the guys in Bowie or Aberdeen or Lakewood, New Jersey or Augusta, Georgia are doing something really cool that we're like, wow, that's cool. That's a great idea. We need to bring that to our park. Calling them to get in the playbook is no problem. Whereas us as an industry, we don't compete against each other. And while we compete on the field for leagues titles or whatever, again, holistically, all of our goals are driven to provide great service to our fans, develop players. So we can just call each other and say, hey, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? And the team provides you the playbook, and you go, wow, this is great. And sometimes you just got to tweak it a little for your market, and not everything works in every market. But that's, we just try to keep our ears to the ground. We have a lot of meetings amongst the industry, and I try to listen to the fans. And really, I try to tell the employees like Roger and others. We just had orientation a couple weeks ago. Every fan that comes to the door is going to interact with about 7 or 8 seasonal employees. They may never interact with me. I mean, I hope they do. I'd love to see them, but they're going to interact with parking. They're going to interact with the ticket office or the gates. They're going to interact with the person handing out the magazines. They're going to interact with the ushers, the food service people. So there's 7 or 8 interaction points that are really key because you can't really mess any of them up. And so I try to stress that to the staff is that that's how the flow is going to happen. So each of you have your role, and we try to call our staff a cast, like a Disney kind of cast, that you play that role and make sure the fan experience is top notch. Because again, there's only 15 of us, and we know a lot of our regulars, and we know a lot of the folks like you that just come to the game when you like.
Yeah.
But we can't be 5,000 people. Us 15 can't be everywhere all the time. So it's really important that game day staff understands it, and we just have good people like Roger and others that care about that fan experience and want to make sure people have a good time.
Minor League Baseball went through a big consolidation a couple years ago, and you kind of saw who was good and who was not based on the decisions that were made. But it seemed like we were never really in jeopardy, and we survived all that and have thrived through the consolidation.
Yeah, so in 2020, Major League Baseball decided to cut minor league baseball down to 4 levels. There used to be 5 levels: short season, A-ball, AA, or short season, A-ball, high A, AA, AAA. So essentially they eliminated the short season level. That didn't mean they eliminated all the short season stadiums. They just eliminated that level and then retooled from the 160 down to 120. So in our area, Frederick, the team in Frederick became unaffiliated. And they have a collegiate team and an independent league team playing out there now. And the team in Hagerstown went away, and they're working on a new ballpark as well. But so 2 teams in Maryland did make that final 120, which we did. We always felt fairly good about it. We have a good relationship with the Orioles. We try to do our best of making sure that the player needs are taken care of when they're in Salisbury. The hardest part about Salisbury, and everybody will tell you this, is just our travel is tough. I mean, we always, in the old South Atlantic League, we had the toughest travel schedule. The new league, we still have the toughest travel schedule just because to get anywhere, we're 2 hours to just get off the peninsula. So whereas everybody else in the Carolinas and other places, you might be a couple hour drive just to get there.
Yeah, there's one commute. What, it's like to Tennessee?
Commute? For us this year?
Road game. Yeah,
James. So I mean, I think some of our farthest games would be like Augusta, Georgia.
Right.
You're talking 12, 13 hours on a bus.
Right.
So it's a long haul. So and that's why we do have a little bit more of a regional schedule. While we do try to have diversity and play the majority of the league on an annual basis, we're never going to be in a situation where we play all teams. It's not that important to play them all. It is some fans. Some fans are really like that diversity. But also, the other big move they made, which is both for travel, health and wellness, and player development, is we no longer play like a 3-game series against one team and then a 4-game against another or whatever. We play Tuesday through Sunday, the same team 6 days in a row.
I like that.
And it works out really well because, again, you're just not playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night at midnight, hopping on a bus to go 4 hours overnight to the next town to then fire up, in Lake County or wherever we used to play. And it works out well. Plus the teams, from a development standpoint, all 5 guys get to pitch.
Right.
All 5 guys are seen, and some teams really have 5 or 6 starters, just the way they're managing pitching now. So from a player development standpoint, it's a plus, and team travel, it is a plus. They cut our mileage down from about 12,000 miles to about 7,000 miles. So it was a big drop in, guys riding on buses throughout the East Coast.
So what actual, during the week, things do you want to promote, and what big events through the season do you want to promote?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we still have our senior program, which is our Wednesday program, our Silver Sluggers. It's gone very, very well over the years. I can't remember what year I started it, but we had about 100 people join it, and we're up to 1,200 now. And it's a great ticket package for $30, $40. I'm not going to say the exact price, but somewhere in that neighborhood. You can get every Wednesday game for $40, so $4 a ticket, we'll call it. That's for our seniors. Thirsty Thursdays back, Big Beer Fridays are back. Every Saturday we'll have fireworks. Every Friday we'll either have a fireworks show or some sort of promotional night giveaway, whatever it may be. And then Tuesdays, starting in June, we'll be bringing back our discounted ticket special where you can go online and grab $7 tickets. And then you come to the ballpark, it'll be $1 hot dogs. And then also in June, excluding July 4th, starting in June on Tuesdays, you can bring your dog to the ballpark.
That's exciting.
Come back. It's been a great promotion. It's a little goofy with opening day, some of our school games, and July 4th being on Tuesdays this year. So the marketing of it's a little bit dicey, but essentially starting in June on Tuesdays, excluding the July 4th game, bring your dog to the ballpark, and we just ask people to bring a donation that we can donate to the local shelters.
Does the team open on the road or at home this year?
So we open on the road. The team will depart for Salem April 5th, and then we'll be in Salem April 6th, 7th, and 8th. We'll be off for Easter Sunday and the Monday following, and we fire back up at home on the 11th.
And who do we play at home to open?
Down East, I think.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's Down East. Yeah, Down East coming to town.
And you're all ready. The field's ready. Everything's ready.
It's always a mad dash. The guys arrive this weekend, so we got till about Monday at noon to be fully done. Lots of late afternoons and evenings that's been going on. All of March is late nights and weekend work at the stadium. And the reality is that we're a 30-year-old building that's been shut down for 6 months.
Right.
Reactivated.
Right.
A lot of toilets, a lot of pipes.
There's going to be a urinal somewhere that's not quite ready.
Plenty of them. They're that way, and it's always a mad dash with our vendors trying to help us out what we can't do.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll be ready by the 11th. And then the other big thing we have going on that I didn't mention, if we can squeeze in, is on April 7th we're hosting Delmarva Parkside Baseball.
Oh, great!
We did not host UMES this season, and UMES in the past has been a good little warm up for us. It gets the building going and kind of gets everybody's juices flowing. And with not hosting UMES this year, we went back to what we did before we hosted UMES. Is we called Delmarva. Hey, you guys are playing Parkside Friday. Come play at our place. Tickets are $5 or $8. Well, parking's $5, and we hope people come on out. And for us, it's a great, just kind of soft opening and a win for the community. Let the kids play on the field, and for some of them, may never have gotten to play at the Purdue Stadium.
And the open house this Tuesday is what time? Tuesday,
doors are open at 4. The team will start working out about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and give or take, it'll run till about 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Spring baseball is so much fun because you're sitting there one day, it's 70 degrees, it's beautiful, and then the next day you show up, it's 40 degrees, and you're miserable, but there's so many great facilities to enjoy.
Yep.
It's still worth the trip.
Yep, absolutely. And we get a lot of folks to come out, and it's might get a little cool in those late innings, so it might get a little sparse in the ballpark in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings. But if it's good weather during the day, we just get good crowds in April, and we got a lot of good programming.
He's Chris Bitters. He's the general manager of the Delmarva Shorebirds. Baseball getting ready to start on Delmarva, and we're so excited he had time to come here today and tell us all about it. Thanks, Chris, for being here.
Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you very much.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on Pack 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.